Welcome back, friends. So, we were learning about linking pay to performance, and up till now we have learned as to how it helps the organization as well as the employees achieve excellence, and it is a win-win situation for both the employee as well as the organization. So, apart from its benefits, it also has certain challenges if you want to link the pay with the performance. So, let us talk about the challenges of linking the pay to the performance. The first one is the subjectivity in performance evaluation. So, how do you say that this is good performance and this is bad performance? So, there is subjectivity in the evaluation of performance. So, assessing and quantifying individual performance can be subjective and it is open to interpretation. Managers may have biases or differing opinions on what constitutes high performance, leading to inconsistencies in performance evaluations and the further compensation decisions. The second challenge is the unintended consequences. So, linking pay to performance may inadvertently encourage employees to focus solely on the activities that are easily measurable or incentivized. So, here they are just focusing on the tasks that are easily measurable or the ones that are incentivized. Thus, they are potentially neglecting other important aspects of their roles or the organization's long-term goals. So, in other words, it means that at times that leads to an employee becoming selfish and just doing those part of the job that are being incentivized and might be overlooking the other important crucial aspects of the role. Then there is risk of unfairness. So, employees may perceive that the performance evaluation process as unfair if there are inconsistencies in how performance is measured or if there is a lack of transparency in the compensation decisions. So, when we were discussing about the compensation structure, compensation policies, so there also I made this point very clear that there has to be transparency in the compensation decisions. If there is lack of transparency, it leads to lack of trust in the employees because then they feel that they are being cheated. The system is not fair. And this unfairness can lead to demotivation, resentment, and even decreased morale among employees. So, if as an employee you feel that your bosses are not being fair to you, they are not assessing your performance properly, then that would lead to demotivation, resentment and decreased morale. The next challenge is that of pressure and stress. So, the pressure to meet performance targets and earn more bonuses can lead to increased stress and burnout among employees because again, here what we are doing is we are just focusing on the aspects of the job that are associated to higher incentives. So, at the back of our mind while performing our job, we are more concerned about the incentive that we are going to get, and that may lead to increased stress and burnout. So, this is especially true in high pressure work environments where the performance expectations are exceptionally high. So, another challenge is the short term focus. So, very rightly said that linking pay to performance may result in employees prioritizing short term gains over the long term strategic objectives. So, this short sighted focus can hinder innovations, collaborations, creativity and the pursuit of sustainable growth initiatives. So, when we are focusing just on the jobs that are being incentivized, we are being short sighted and we are not looking at the bigger picture for the organization or even for ourselves. So, that is yet another challenge of linking pay to performance. then of course there is difficulty in measuring performance, the next challenge. So, some roles and responsibilities may be challenging to measure quantitatively, making it difficult to accurately assess performance, because only then you will be able to link performance to pay. How do you measure the quantity of performance? So, this is particularly true for roles that involve creative or collaborative work, where outcomes may not be immediately apparent or easily quantifiable, or the knowledge workers that we discussed in the previous couple of lectures, like IT professionals, web designers, or anything that is related to designing, or even in the scientific world also. So, no matter how much effort you are putting, but you are failing in your ultimate outcome. Like we can take the example of the scientists who were developing the vaccine. So, that was not done in a single day or a single attempt. So, even if you are failing, that does not mean you are not performing. But yes, you have not achieved positive results does not mean that you have not been performing. So, how do you link performance to pay? That is what we say, that there is difficulty in measuring performance, because we often associate performance with the outcome. So, if the outcome is positive, we say the performance is good, but if the outcome is negative, we just negate the entire performance. So, that should not be there whenever you are measuring performance. Coming to the next segment of the lecture today, we are now going to discuss about the bonuses. What are bonuses and what are its types? So, a bonus is a form of an additional compensation or reward that is given to employees beyond their regular salary or wages. So, this is the additional compensation. So, bonuses are typically provided to recognize and incentivize exceptional performance, achievements or contributions to the organization, and they can take various forms and serve different purposes within a company. So, every bonus would have a different purpose, a different objective. So, let us learn each one of these types of bonuses that you might have come across. The first one is the performance based bonus. So, this bonus it is awarded to employees based on their individual or the team performance against certain predetermined goals and targets. So, there are certain goals predetermined, there are certain targets again which are predetermined, and if you are able to achieve that goal, that target, you are given a performance bonus. So, example here is that of the Google. It is known for its performance based bonuses, where employees receive the bonuses based on their performance reviews and achievements and against their KPIs or the key performance indicators. So, organizations, they set up certain indicators against which your performance is measured, and if you are up to the mark, if there is no gap between what is set for you and what you have achieved, then you certainly get a performance bonus. So, employees are evaluated on factors such as innovation, collaboration and the impact on the business. What have you contributed towards the business? So, that is how Google ensures the performance bonus. The second type of bonus is the annual or the year end bonus. So, these are often given at the end of the fiscal year and are based on the overall individual or company performance throughout the year. So, as the name itself is self-explanatory, it is given at the end of the year. So, such bonuses is a fixed amount or a percentage which depends on the yearly salary of the employee, and these bonuses are a way to acknowledge and reward the sustained effort and dedication of an employee towards the organization. So, an example here is that of the JP Morgan Chase. It is a leading global financial services firm which is known for its competitive compensation packages, which often include year-end bonuses for employees in various roles, including investment banking, asset management and corporate banking. And these bonuses, they are typically based on the individual and team performance as well as the firm's overall financial performance. The third type of bonus is the signing bonus. So, these bonuses are again, they are one-time payments which are offered to new employees upon accepting a job offer. So, these bonuses are designed to attract top talent and incentivize candidates to join the organization. So, it is a one-time bonus. So, an example here is that of the investment banks like Goldman Sachs, which often offers substantial signing bonuses to attract top graduates from prestigious MBA programs. These bonuses can range from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on the role and level of experience. Next type of bonus is the retention bonus. So, retention bonuses are provided to employees as an incentive to stay with the company for a specified period of time. And these bonuses are typically offered to key employees or those with critical skills. So, this can vary from an organization to organization. Some organizations pay after 5 years, some pay it after 10 years. So, the duration could vary from the organization to organization. An example here is that of Apple. It has been known to offer retention bonuses to its top engineers and designers to prevent them from being poached by competitors. So, these bonuses, they are often tied to specific milestones or years of service within the company. So, what is the purpose and context of a retention bonus? So, as I said that every bonus has its own purpose, has its own context, keeping in mind the attraction of employees, retention of employees, motivation of employees. So, if we talk of retention bonuses, they are typically employed during critical times when there is a perceived flight risk among key employees. So, what do we mean by flight risk? That when there are chances that the employees might look out for certain other opportunities, might leave the organization and join your competitor. So, that is the time where you might be offering retention bonuses to your key employees. So, this could be due to uncertainties surrounding a merger or an acquisition, restructuring within the organization. So, these could be the reasons why you could perceive an employee would be leaving the organization. So, at that point of time, retention bonuses are offered. So, the retention period, it specifies the duration for which the employee must remain within the company to receive the full bonus. So, this period is agreed upon during negotiations and is influenced by specific circumstances prompting the retention bonus. So, if you see a lot of uncertainty, or if you see that as an organization there are a lot of competition or competitors coming within the same geographical area, then also there are chances that your people would go to some other organization within. So, if I say that there is one university in Chandigarh and there are 2 or 3 more universities coming up in within the same proximity or vicinity of that particular university, then you need to give retention bonus to your employees, because then in that circumstances there are chances that your people would leave and opt for the new university or new organization. So, that is how retention bonuses may be offered. So, what are the advantages of retention bonuses? So, number one, mitigates talent loss, it is cost effective, it improves employee morale, and it helps in the strategic alignment of the individual's goals with that of the goals of the organization. The next bonus that we are going to talk about is the referral bonuses. So, referral bonuses are awarded to employees who refer qualified candidates to the company, leading to successful hires. So, for example, if I refer one of my family members or my friend or somebody who is known to me to my existing organization, I would be getting a referral bonus. So, these bonuses help organizations attract top talent through employee referrals. And of course, one more point is that instead of hiring somebody whom you completely do not know any information about, you are completely unaware of. So, through referral bonuses, if for example, I am referring somebody, so that means I acknowledge them, I can vouch for that person. I won't refer anybody who is not properly qualified or who does not have a good work conduct or do not have a good work ethics. So, certainly I would never refer somebody like that to my organization. So, it is again a win-win situation for both the organization and the person who is referring. So, example here is that of Facebook that offers referral bonuses to employees who refer candidates who are subsequently hired by the company. The bonuses can vary depending on the level of the position and of course, the scarcity of the skills required. So, your economics laws of demand and supply, they hold true here. So, bonuses are given depending upon the demand and supply of the skills of the people that are required within the organization. Now, what is the purpose of a referral bonus? So, the primary purpose of any referral bonus program is to leverage the personal and professional networks of your current employees so that you can identify and attract qualified candidates. By encouraging employees to refer potential hires, organization they aim to expedite the recruitment process. So, instead of going through the entire recruitment process where you maybe advertise a particular vacancy, then you invite applications and then you shortlist out of those applications. This is a shorter method because here the candidate is directly coming to you. So, it reduces the cost of hiring and it also enhances the quality of candidates by relying on the recommendations from trusted sources. So, your current employees are your trusted source. So, if they are recommending somebody, that means they too can be trusted upon. So, that is why we say that this type of recruitment, it reduces the cost of hiring and enhances the quality of people because you can directly rely on them. So, the next type of bonus is the profit sharing bonus. Interesting concept. This type of bonus, it allows employees to share in the company's financial success by receiving a portion of the profits generated through their contributions. So, an example of this is the Southwest Airlines. It has a profit sharing program where employees receive annual bonuses based on the company's profitability. So, the more the profitability, the more the bonus. The amount of the bonus is therefore determined by a formula that takes into account the company's financial performance and the employee's tenure with the company. Moving further, the next is the sales bonuses. So, sales bonuses awarded to employees in the sales roles based on their achievement of the sales targets or the quotas. So, all departments or all organizations offer this type of bonuses to its sales people. So, like pharmaceutical companies like the Pfizer, it offers sales bonuses to their sales representatives based on the volume of products sold and the attainment of the sales targets. So, we all know that sales people have their targets to be achieved. So, when they achieve these targets, sales bonuses are given to them. These bonuses can be a significant portion of the total compensation package for the sales professionals. The next type of bonus is the spot bonus. So, spot bonuses are given spontaneously. From there this word spot has been derived. So, these are given spontaneously to employees as a form of an immediate recognition for some exceptional performance or any particular significant contribution. So, these bonuses can range from gift cards to cash rewards. So, an example here is that of the Zappos, which is an online shoe and clothing retailer. So, employees have the authority to give out spot bonuses called WOW awards to their colleagues for outstanding customer service or any innovative ideas. So, you can actually engage your employees, you can foster a culture of innovation and creativity through these type of bonuses. Now, what are certain key considerations whenever you are implementing these bonuses? You must take care of certain things. So, implementing bonuses requires careful consideration to ensure that they align with the organizational goals, they are fair and transparent, and they effectively motivate the employees. So, let us understand some key considerations for organizations when they are implementing bonuses. Number one is the alignment with the business objectives. Whatever you are offering to your people, is it aligned with the business objective? So, bonuses should be aligned with the strategic objectives of the organization. They should incentivize behaviors and outcomes that contribute to the overall success of the company, such as increasing sales, improving customer satisfaction, or driving innovation. So, that alignment has to be seen and it has to be adhered to. Then another consideration is the clear and measurable matrices. So, establish clear and measurable performance metrics that employees must achieve to earn bonus. So, these metrics should be objective, easily understandable, and directly linked to the desired outcomes. Then another consideration that you must keep in mind is the fairness and equity. So, you must ensure as HR professionals that bonus criteria must be fair and equitable across all employees. So, any kind of favoritism, any kind of biases, they should be avoided whenever you are allocating any bonus, because if there is inequity or if there is no fairness or subjectivity or biasness or favoritism within the organization when it comes to bonus allocation, then you are directly losing trust. Your employees would be just losing trust in your management and you as leaders. So, avoid biases or favoritism in bonus allocation and strive to create a level playing field for all employees to earn bonuses based on their performance and contributions and not merely because of the person is your particular favorite. So, that must be avoided. Then of course, there has to be transparency. Maintain transparency throughout the bonus process, including how bonuses are calculated. So, that formula also has to be made clear in the mind of the employees that this is the thing on the basis of which we would be getting the bonus. So, the criteria used for evaluation has to be transparently communicated. So, clear communication, it helps build trust and confidence among employees and reduces the risk of misunderstandings or any kind of resentment. So, whenever you are transparent in your approach, the employees feel confident, they know that this is the thing and this is how we would be awarded. Budgetary constraints. So, bonuses are directly linked to cost. But what if you do not have that kind of a budget? So, you need to consider the organization's budgetary constraints when you are determining the size and frequency of bonuses. How often you are offering these bonuses? Is it annual? Is it bi-monthly? So, what is the frequency of these bonuses? And you need to consider the budgetary constraints as well. So, bonuses should be financially sustainable for the company, while still providing meaningful rewards to employees. So, in the first year you might be giving good bonuses, but is this formula or is this bonus structure sustainable for the organization in the long run? So, you need to take care of that as well. Then is the timeliness. So, providing bonuses in a timely manner to maximize their impact is a motivational tool. So, if you are delaying any kind of bonus, see when you achieve something today, Remember the days when we as kids, we scored well in our result and our parents used to gift us, you know, that then and there. Right in the evening, your dad would bring up with some gift. That is timeliness, because that is the moment when you are feeling the most happy. So, same is in the organization when you have achieved something now. So, you need to be given the bonus now. It should not be delayed, and it should not be infrequent that this year you got the bonus, 2 years down the line you are not getting any kind of bonus. So, the timeliness has to be taken care of. So, delayed or infrequent bonus payouts may diminish their effectiveness in incentivizing desired behaviors and performance. Then you must also consider the long term impact of bonuses on employee motivation. We all understand and we all love additional remuneration, additional compensation in the form of any bonus. So, bonus should not only reward past performance, but at the same time it should encourage future performance and our commitment to the organization. But at the same time you must adhere to the legal as well as the regulatory compliances also. So, ensure that bonus programs comply with relevant legal and regulatory requirements, including employment laws, tax regulations and industry standards. So, you must consult the legal and HR experts to mitigate any kind of risks and ensure compliances. So, friends, today we talked about VRS, we talked about different types of bonuses, and we also discussed about linking pay to performance. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? So, we will continue further on the same topic. Thank you.